Hello, this is Don Carter. I'm back again on another practice run on my live webinar software. It's 12 o'clock noon on Thursday, July 27th. I'm hoping my voice will hold up. I've had a little bit of laryngitis, but I think we'll be fine today. Okay, so I want to show you a process I call reverse engineering the symptoms, and it's something that I've developed over the years to unpack the issues that people come in with, because really what usually brings people in for counseling is a desire for comfort and relief. Something's bothering them and they'd like to sort that out, but the symptoms that they present don't always explain the issue that needs to be dealt with. So unpacking or reverse engineering the symptoms is something that I find very useful. And I've put it in my new book, Thawing the Spirit. It's blending science and spirituality with a biblical perspective. I just released that book in March of this year. And the reverse engineering symptoms process is in that book, so you don't have to take a lot of notes or anything. You can find it there, either in the Kindle version or the printed version online at Amazon.com. Okay, so to get started, I'll pull this up. You may recognize this from my life scripts and parts matrix video. This is a model that I use to start healing the issues that come with abandonment, shame, and contempt. And you might recognize this model as well. This is my iceberg model. Now I have, I think, both videos here on the website as well as YouTube and several other locations. So you can go back and watch those videos. The one on the iceberg is about 25-30 minutes long. And then this is the second video that you'd want to watch, the first one after the iceberg. But this is what I call the life scripts and parts matrix model, and it's basically adapted from the structural dissociation model that's fairly new out there today. And so I want to just kind of go over that real quick. You'll see these top two boxes up here: self-actualization and self-preservation. That's growth mode and survival mode. You'll notice that when we're in survival mode, we get triggered into survival mode. This whole flow chart lights up. And this is where I want to call your attention to is the fight part, the flight parts, and the freeze parts, submit, and the attachment drive. I bypassed that second layer. That's the infection of shame, the wound of abandonment, and the scab of contempt that's outlined in this video here, which is the free-floating mass of pain that creates a false sense of self. And so that's the lens through which we see all these other parts here. And you'll learn more about that when you watch that video, but you'll see that there are a lot of different fight parts and flight parts and freeze parts and submit parts and attach parts. And the only time they're active, or shall I say reactive, is when we're triggered into survival mode. That's when we are more likely to do the things that we don't really authorize, like I hate it when I do that kind of things. I don't understand why I do that. Well, that comes from these parts that are in this third tier. And so I want to show you a fairly simple way to unpack and to process how all this works. So I use this reverse engineering model that I created, and we'll start over on the right side where it says symptoms. I see symptoms as side effects for inadequate solutions, for created unmet needs that come out of a root cause or a trigger. So I start here in this column and with the symptoms that someone comes in with that they want to address, and can trace it back through these columns. So I'll give you an example, about 4 examples here. Let's say a man comes in with, I think I can, yeah. Let's say he's coming in because he's getting divorced. And, well, that's not going to work, but that's okay. So if you look over on the right column where it says divorce, the symptom that brought the man in is that he's losing his best friend. She filed for divorce. It knocks his pins out from under him. He's depressed. He's miserable. They've been together over 25 years, and it's a big shock to him. And so the counselor asks, well, why are you getting a divorce? Why'd she leave you? He said, I don't know. I guess because we fight all the time lately. And, well, what do you fight about? Well, she thinks I drink too much. Well, do you think you drink too much? No, I think I can handle it, but I try to quit just to please her, but it doesn't please her, so I say to heck with it, and I start drinking again, and then she says I'm lying, and I broke my promise to quit. And so it's always about the drinking. Well, have you thought about quitting your alcohol? Well, I really can't quit because, I could quit any time I want, but it helps me function. And it gives me comfort and relief so I can function. And, well, why do you need comfort and relief? Well, because I have PTSD from the war, and without that comfort and relief, I have intrusive memories, I have flashbacks, I have anxiety and depression, and so the drinking helps me level that out so I can go to work and function. But then it cost me my best friend, and so that's how that first one works. So the divorce and her filing for a divorce was actually something that was good because it brought this gentleman in to deal with his drinking problem, which is rooted in his PTSD from the war, which is what needs to be healed. And when that's healed, the need for comfort and relief is reduced, and the excessive drinking is eliminated, and the marriage can go on. So another example, a lady comes in with depression. Why are you depressed? Well, I can't even leave my house to go shopping for Christmas stuff with my husband. I want to go out and be able to do things and go out to eat, but this agoraphobia is keeping me locked up in the house. And when I do go out there, I have a panic attack. And so then he has to bring me back home. So it's very depressing, and I can't have a life that I want. Well, what's the solution that isolation or that agoraphobia gives? And that's isolation. And I feel safer when I'm in the house and when I'm not going out. And, well, what makes you feel? And so there's a need for safety and relief here. So what makes you need safety by staying in the house? Well, when I go outside, it's too people-y. What do you mean by people-y? Well, when I go out, there's a lot of people. Well, you don't like people? No, I like people fine. Well, what's the problem with it being too people-y? And she couldn't answer that question, so we did a little inner check with IFS, which is called Internal Family Systems Therapy, and we just asked the part of her, and that's something we'll get into in another video, but we asked the part of her that is fearful of being out there with all those people what the problem was. And it was a fear that she would connect with someone and become friends, and then they might abandon her. Now, where'd that idea come from? It was rooted in the fact that she was raised in a very dysfunctional family, and then she met this guy that was perfect for her, made her feel safe and loved and wanted, and they had a happy marriage for a year or two, and then he got deployed overseas and he was gone for 2 years, and so that triggered her abandonment issues, and then the fear of abandonment came with that. So connecting with people in that peoply world out there puts her at risk of more abandonment. So instead of fearing the abandonment, she got the safety and relief that comes from isolation, but then it grew into agoraphobia where she couldn't go out even when she wanted to, which created the depression. So again, the depression was actually a good thing because it brought her in for counseling so she could address this inadequate solution. It was a solution in the short term. She did get the safety and relief, and so that was solved, but it didn't heal the abandonment issues and deal with that. Another kid comes in, can't hold a job. Why can't you hold a job? Well, I'm always fighting with my boss. Well, what are you always fighting with your boss for? And he said, I guess I have this strong need to be in control, and so I argue, and then he doesn't like it, and so I end up getting fired. And, well, why do you think you have a strong need to be in control? Well, because it gives me some safety and self-protection. Now, he didn't know that right away, but what he did know was he was abused as a child and nobody ever did anything for him to make him safe, and they picked on him on the playground and all kinds of bad things happened. So he's always had to look out for himself, and so then for self-protection, he always had to be in control. And that means anyone that tried to exercise any control would be up for a fight. We'll look at that a little bit more in a little bit too. So the fourth example is the person comes in because of marital stress. And why is there marital stress and fighting? She says because I can't connect. And she says that I have walls up, and I don't have walls up. I know who I am, and I share that with other people, but does anybody else know what you feel? You know what you feel. Does anybody else know what you feel? No, they don't, because my outside doesn't match my inside. I put on a mask when I go out or when I'm with someone. And again, that's for self-protection and safety. And why does your outside not match your inside? Because it makes me feel vulnerable and in danger, and so I protect myself by keeping a face on or a public image. And what's all that rooted in? It's rooted in a sense of betrayal and being abused again. So it's my self-protective device to make sure my outside doesn't match my inside. Okay, so you can see how all these things are related and how you can trace them back from the symptom that brought them in, which is a side effect of an inadequate solution to a created unmet need that comes from a root cause or a trigger. All right, so let's go another step further now. And we'll see here that the divorce involved fight parts and submit parts, because the client would fight when she tried to get him to quit drinking, but then he would try to quit drinking, try to please her, and so he would submit from time to time, and when he went back to drinking, there would be another fight. So a fight part and flight part, or a fight part and submit part. And what was the drinking? It was from a flight part, a part that wanted to escape the sense of being in danger from the PTSD, which caused a need for comfort and relief. So you can see there's a flight part, a fight part, and a submit part involved in all of this. The lady with depression had a sense of hopelessness, and she just collapsed and submitted to all of that. And that came out of the freeze part that isolated her with agoraphobia. And she did feel safe as long as she didn't move. But if she went outside into that peoply world, then the fear of abandonment was triggered, and connecting is not safe. So freezing and hiding out and not being seen is what the fight or the freeze part does. The kid who couldn't hold a job, of course, that's a fight part with the boss. Always needing to be in control, that's also a fight part. the part that needed safety and protection was the attachment part, or the vulnerable part. The marital stress in that situation. There's a wall of numbness guarded by a wall of anger. If you start poking at toward the wall of numbness, the wall of anger, the part would come up. And that's a fight part and a flight part mixed in there. The wall of numbness was a flight part, and the wall of anger is a fight part. And so outside doesn't match the inside. That's a protective move by the fight part, which is also that flight part, depending on which wall is being triggered. And so, yeah, that kind of explains it, I guess. But the idea is to play with this a little bit and put the symptom in this box here, and then ask, what is that an inadequate solution to? So where does the symptom come from? And then the inadequate solution, what is that there for? Why do we need that solution? What's it solving? It would be solving a created unmet need. And where does the created unmet need come from? That challenge or that trigger. So there's some instructions on the bottom of this worksheet here that explains it. And if you find it useful, I think you find it useful. Then I guess that's about all I have for today. Is I wanted to cover that, and I want to practice using my software again. So we'll see if my mic and everything else work just right. So thanks a lot for listening.